All right, is that working? I'm sharing screen, yes?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, everyone, this is Chris. I am a lean agile transformation coach here at CRISP. And I have many interests, but one of them is all this related to high performance for teams and organization. And I really like that high performance, not perhaps in the way of efficiency so much, though that's important, but very much in effectiveness. That is to say, how do we succeed? Do we get closer to our to succeeding as teams and of course as organization? What I would like to do today is to share some of my experience and thoughts related to team success metrics. That is to say, do we know when we are succeeding? Are we there yet? These questions, actually, I meet them a lot as a consultant. I end up in way too many meetings that are related to, okay, we need to measure something. What can we measure? What makes sense here? And there is this kind of not conflict, but a tension between what the team want to do for themselves and to understand if they are evolving, they're getting better, and of course pressure from the rest of the organization and specifically on the managers that then transfers to the team in sense of, okay, are we there yet? Are we good enough? This is of course due to every organization trying to transform themselves to be more agile. And this create, of course, expectation management. Are we better now? We've invested perhaps even heavily in all of this with lean and agile, and we have this coach coming in, and we have these new roles, and so where are we now? Are we better off with all of this? Another aspect I think it's important why this is relevant is that of course teams are becoming even more at center, so to say, than before. Teams, there's this dichotomy of if the team succeed, actually the organization may succeed. Well, it's not a one-to-one mapping here, but of course teams succeed and help the organization to succeed. Even so more now when we have this concept of empower the team becoming central, where the team take more and more responsibility and have a higher mandate and work for the whole company in perhaps a product or even a value stream. So the teams succeeding is actually central to the success of the organization. So what I'm going to show today is a list I've compiled to support me in this discussion. What is we're going to measure? And I want this discussion to be much more to the point and succeeding. So what I'm going to do is to share first some of these metrics. Then I'm going to summarize that and try to answer the question, yeah, but what do we do with all of these different aspects? And also, I'm going to present what the metrics are about. We don't have time, of course, to go into detail and how to measure all that. So the tooling, I will leave that to you. So let's just dig into all this with the metrics. There's one metrics that should matter, of course, is, well, is the team delivering to its expectation? There are, of course, there's an intention with the team. There's the organization that is betting on this group of people that cost quite much, of course, to deliver some value, to make an impact out there. So probably the primary aspect of team success would be, is the team delivering on its mission? And of course, that means that the team should have a mission. We should be clear for a team to have a mission. If your team does not have a mission, then of course the whole process becomes a bit of a challenge. So how good is the team in creating outcome and impact? Because that's the model I like to use when discussing a team mission. And that's a model that shows this, that the team is probably creating a lot of output. Output could be user stories, could be features, could be products. And these outputs only actually become valuable when used by the customers. The customers could be, of course, end customers, users, or it could be more internal type of customers if you're, for instance, working for other team in your organization. But basically, these customers start to use your product and they start to behave in a different way. Things become easier, faster, better for them. And of course, they reuse your product, your solution more and more. And this, in turn, when this happens, generates an impact for the whole organization. So if we have this simple model, and by the way, that's based on Jeff Patton's work, then it becomes essential for the team to succeed to generate this outcome. And this outcome, you can measure that, are we doing a different out there, by measuring the change in behaviors. It could be as simple as, users starting to use the product or coming back to the product, or doing discovering these new things that are possible using the product. To summarize that, I like to propose this template I came up with to help the team to frame all of this. It's worked like this. A team mission. We create some solution or product or service or something, we create something to enable some target groups to do something valuable. And the important part, of course, is the next one that tries to frame the value delivered by the team. We are on track when we see some quantifiable outcomes, and again, that would be measuring behavior change in your customer, your target group. And we believe that this will have some quantifiable organization impact. So here is kind of the long-term the long-term goal for the team. And that's something you can obviously measure continuously and see trends, of course, in that. We're getting better at succeeding with our mission. So that would be the first one. Once this is established, you could imagine to use other type of metrics that are more like temporary metrics that have to do with succeeding with some temporary mission, a campaign, for instance, or a certain release. And here I would propose to use objective and key results just as a help here. So I would not go into the details of the objective and key result model. You will have better pointers out there. It's not complex, but it can be challenging to implement. But the proposed statement is this: we will objective as measured by key result. This key result then becomes your kind of temporary metrics. For instance, we create this awesome customer experience by improving Net Promoter Score by that much, while increasing repurchasing rates, but also maintaining customer acquisition cost under a specific cost. That would be more like quarterly based 10 weeks type of interval metrics. It does not necessarily have to do with your product. It could be more like an internal objective, for instance, diminishing technical depth. That could absolutely be something that you have using objective and key result framework for. Okay, so what's more, I want to get into something I call team capabilities. And this is, given that we have this mission, given that you have these objectives, how are we going to deliver on that? And this is the whole process, the whole development process, regardless how much development you do. All teams have this discovery part, that is to say, understanding what's valuable, identifying what's valuable. This delivery part where you realize that value somehow, you actually, well, code it or whatever, and then eventually you release it. your team can be more or less good at these things. So if we look at, before getting into more details, something to be reminded of is that what we're looking at here are trends. These metrics are kind of attracting managers, and they really love to compare teams using that. What you can compare, the teams, of course, have different contexts. And it becomes very hard to actually compare them, even though they're working, for instance, with online front-end stuff. Both of them, for instance, they will have different stakeholders, different team members, etc. So try to use these metrics, not to compare them directly, just use trends to do that. The actual numbers, we could go back to that, maybe use in relation to what I call a panic line here. Go back to that. And the whole purpose of these metrics is really to understand, are we improving? You do some changes, you do some experiments on the way you work, on the product. You might to see, are we getting somewhere? Do we have an impact on that? So with that being said, if we look at the first capability, how capable is your team in discovering value? So it's very much about the capability for the team to learn what is valuable. So you may use some metrics like the rate of learning or the latency of learning. This is to say, from the moment we come up with this idea until the moment that we have validated that idea in contact with the users, the actual end users, and gotten their feedback, how much of the learning do we do, and how much time does that take? That would be one of the essential metrics here. There is some other model that I really like from John Cutler. We propose this division between the rate and quality of data, that is to say, the data you gather from your users, the insights you can generate based on that, and the rate and quality of the decision you take based on these insights. This becomes central when working in a more data-driven environment where I guess all organizations now are looking into that. This becomes very important to actually do the loop as quickly as possible. But I would say that from all the different metrics areas I've discovered, this one is kind of it requires a bit more work. Is the area where there is most to be learned yet on how to and what to measure. Another capability, the actual delivery capability. Now that you have identified these things of value, you want to deliver it. So how to realize that? And here we'd like to share a model from Troy Magennis. This is actually a rather old model. It has a newer one, but I really like this one because it's pretty simple. And what Troy is saying is that to be able to deliver in a good way, efficiently and effectively, it's a balancing act between different aspects. So, of course, you should deliver with quality. You should deliver and you should be responsive. That is to say, it shouldn't take a short time for you to deliver the stuff. You should have speed. You should probably have a high throughput. So many of these ideas should be realized. And you should also be predictable. These are 4 different aspects, but of course they're connected to each other. For instance, if you have a high quality, you probably tend to go slower when doing that because you have much more check and controls. In the same way, if you try to be very predictable, that is to say, making sure that you deliver your product before Easter, you probably will be less responsive because it will tend to start things as early as possible and take time to do things. So there is this balancing act between these different aspects. What's interesting here is, of course, the trend. Are we getting more responsive right now, or are we losing quality based on the action we did so far? And something to remember, maybe, or perhaps to set, would be these panic lines, which is to say that, yeah, it actually doesn't matter are predictable. We are, unless we're getting really behind this panic line that is to say that we I don't know, 80% of the stuff we do is actually delayed. That's not a good thing. So as a team, the thing to do to discuss that and to start measuring these things and to start to set these panic lines for your team and start to see everything that we do, all the changes we do, how is that helping us in quality, responsiveness, speed, and such. Just to speaking about this responsiveness and lead time, I just want to introduce that visualization to show that there are many things you can actually check. Most of the team are focusing on the flow time. That is to say, the time between we started the work and the work is finished in the team, but there are many more things you can imagine to check. Depending on where you are in your context, for instance, this waiting time for a customer waiting for something to happen, maybe actually something you want to focus on. Just want to broaden your perspective. It's not only about flow time. You could imagine to have many other things to check. One comment I often use that, I hear is that this is taking so much time actually to produce this metric. Actually, this is not the case. This is still based on Troy's Magnus work. You find the link here, but based on this simple data, and what you see here, the simple data is stating start date and stop date, start and complete date of different items or things you do, either storage, epics, defect, whatever. As soon as you've collected that, and if you use Troy's magic Excel spreadsheet, it will be able to produce this for different aspects, which are, again, but responsiveness, speed, quality, productivity, etc. It's all connected to the model I showed before, simply from this data. And actually, Troy's also has many other different type of visualization, different aspects of responsiveness, for instance, or quality that you may want to use here. So it's actually pretty simple from this raw data that you see up there to create something, a dashboard for the team. And often, all the time I get into this discussion like, yeah, but we should automate that, and Jira is not configured properly, and oh yeah, we have not started yet in doing this because, and this is just bullshit because that's all that I started working with all of this before Jira existed, and it took me 5 minutes per day to just collect the data and put it in Excel. So if you really want to produce such a team dashboard, you can do that. It just takes really 5 minutes per day at the most. I want to share a last capability as such, which is more connected to, well, DevOps. That is to say, once that we have this thing that is realized now, how quickly and how repetitively, consistently can we actually release that to production? And that's actually based on the work, the DevOps works. And Jean Kim, Jez Humble, and Patrick Debois' book, the DevOps Handbook, actually has a lot of information here. But what you see here are different metrics that when tracked, discussed, and improved, are supposed to, or the proposition is that if you optimize these metrics, you will actually optimize the whole, because the whole process, the whole organization needs to actually be behind you to succeed with that. And what you look into here are deployment frequency. How often can you succeed in deploying? The change failure rate, that is to say, when you deploy, how often you need to roll back a deploy because it went wrong. And deployment lead time, how much time does it take for us to actually, from the moment we decide let's go live until it's in production, how much time does that take? And of course, the whole CI/CD movement is about minimizing that time. But it's also this other aspect, which is the change lead time. For the moment that you discover change until it's in production, how long does that take? That's of course interesting for a shorter time to market, but even more interesting when you have a problem in production, you want to recover from that. So that it's the same metric, so to say, is actually can be used for the mean time to recovery, how long time it takes for us to recover from problems. These aspects are, of course, very important. Again, if you optimize them, a lot of other things that we discussed earlier will also need to be, so to say, handled to get this optimized. Okay, I'm sorry if I feel that I need to go deeper in all of this, but I don't have time because I want to share so many things. The next team metrics I would like to share is about health. And there are a lot of team health metrics that are, so to say, creating the prerequisites for everything we discussed earlier. Because if a team is unhealthy, you may succeed once, but you will have very hard time to succeed for all time to sustainably, continuously succeed with your team. Therefore, the team must be healthy. And here you have, I've tried to present different dimensions of health. One of them is the team health, which is popularized by the team health check from Spotify. If you haven't checked that, you could check Jimmy's Jan's work, his previous colleague at CRISP, which is basically, let's try to evaluate once in a while, let's say every, I don't know, quarter, how the team feels into different aspects that are related to the product, aspects that are related to the team, aspects that are related to how we feel. So it's everything from the value delivered to autonomy, psychological safety, etc., etc. And that's a list that you can actually compile with your team in your context, what makes sense. Then you ask team members to actually evaluate, are we awesome? Okay, or do we suck at these different aspects? And based on this, you actually select a couple of aspects that needs to be improved. Like for instance, here, health of code-based work balances, safe to fail culture, and try to actually work as a team and also cross teams. How can we make this safe to fail culture better in our organization? So that's a way to quickly scan and raise some aspects that you may not, so to say, usually look into. Another thing I think is interesting is the skills health or skill liquidity. Without going into too much detail, it's trying to understand can we, if one person disappears, can we still deliver our product or service? And the key here is for the team to be as making sure that actually people can cover for each other and know different areas of the systems or products. The goal here would be that if you have a high bus factor, actually you don't. If someone disappears, you can still deliver. Another aspect of health would be everything related to tech. Is the tech we're using good enough? Is it the latest libraries? Are we complying to team standards or standards from our organization when it comes to how we do reviews and comments and documentation, everything with how much test units coverage we have to all other things. Without going into much detail, it may be valuable for you to have some of these aspects when considering health. Of course, you may have other health aspects related to the process. How good are you at doing Scrum and Kanban? How good are you at doing SAFe? You have, of course, different assessment to do that. You could have also assessment on different processes and policies and ETL and everything. This, of course, depends which one you would like to focus on, depending on how the team feels and how they are, what problems, of course, you have there. Another one I would like to share is this about operations. Operation, you often tend to forget it as a team, but given that the teams are getting more and more responsibility, the mandate, so to say, becomes more and more broad, you actually must look into how things are doing in production. This is just a simple example using a website showing different aspects of the website. And again, the same concept with the panic line. If something goes wrong, what do we do then? Last, I want to share the product health. And here I'm showing a lot of stuff. The point is not for you to pick something here at this moment, it's just to get inspired. But you have a lot of different metrics you could actually follow to understand, are we delivering as a team on the expectation from the business model that is actually behind all of this, or the financial expectation on this product or service. And here you have different things that could be of interest, the pilot metrics being quite popular, net promoter score is usually heavily used. But the other things that are more interesting, like the Shan-Ellis test, I think is a good alternative to when people are getting tied on the NPS. And of course, a lot of things relate more financial kind of base on churn and ARPU and et cetera, et cetera. So this is just, this is what is possible here. Probably even more that are not shown here. So these you will use when trying to understand, is our product delivering the value expected according to the business model. Okay, one last thing is I would say the continuous improvement metrics, which is underlying everything that we have discussed so far, which is how often do we improve? How many experiments do we do? How many improvements do we actually do per unit of time? You want, of course, to learn to outrun the competition. You want to do as many such experiments, regardless if it's improving speed or improving team health or whatever. How many of these things do we actually do? Okay, so these are all the metrics that presented. About the team mission, are we actually delivering on what the team is supposed to do? When zooming in how we do that, then you may look into the team capabilities. How good are we at learning, at delivering, and at releasing stuff? And all of them actually require the team to be healthy, and that's maybe other aspect you need to improve, so to say, to be able to succeed with the rest. Now, this is all well and good, but where do we start? It's so many things, and of course, I want to offer two advice. One of them is, well, start where it hurts the most. You may need to do a retrospective, with everyone, and say, okay, what is on my challenge right now, and start there. Another model I want to offer that's based on Larry Macherones and reused also by Troy is the ODIM. ODIM is engaging the team in reflecting on what outcome do we want? What is it we really want to do? For instance, we want to make sure that the capacity of the team matches the demand. And based on that, what decision then should we be able to take to reach this outcome? For instance, do we need more staff or not? Okay, if we need to take this decision, what insight do we need to be able to take this decision? So do we need more staff or not? We probably need to check if we are, well, are we delivering at the same rates as the incoming demand, for instance? And based on that, you could actually start to measure something. For instance, here, incoming rates, outgoing rate, etc. So you kind of start by where you want to get the outcomes, and based on that, you actually reverse engineer the metrics you should use right now from all the stuff I've shown, what this makes sense for us at this moment.
Christophe?
Yes.
We're running out of time.
Yes, and I'm done. Look at that.
You're
awesome.
Done. Great.
Yes.
On time, almost.
So the slides are there, bit.ly team success metrics, if you want it. I know it went pretty fast here.